Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker. This is WPwatercooler's WPblab. Tonight, we are talking about something kind of not so near and dear to my heart anymore, and we'll get into the reason why in just a little bit. We're talking about backups. We're talking about WordPress backup solutions, the way in which you go about backing up. Pre-show, we were talking a little bit about kind of using interesting ways. Jonathan Perlman and I were talking about interesting ways of doing backups. So yeah, we're gonna talk about all the cool things backup wise and get them all figured out. Bridget, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
I'm the marketing manager for WordPress.
Woohoo!
The best donation plugin called Give. You can find more about Give at givewp.com.
This was not a paid endorsement.
My name is Bridget Willard, and I endorse this message.
You know what I need to do? I need to put a give button, like have a give set up somewhere on WP Watercooler's website that just says Devin, click here on Thursday, and that's all he has to do is he has to just click on that and then just give $5, and I'm like, cool, we did our thing.
Oh man!
Oh boy, I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at jasontucker.us. I do stuffs over there. I also write over at WPmedia.pro. I do stuff over there, and let's see here. What else? I also do a thing which I started and I haven't actually done anything else with it yet. But we do this thing called WP Show and Tell, or rather, I do these things called WP
we're supposed to do it together about Google Alerts.
Yeah, we totally do. Yeah. See, I already got my second one. Awesome.
I forgot about that.
Here's the deal about that. If you make, I call it if you make a WordPress thing. So if you made a WordPress thing, it could be anything WordPress related, even if it's just web related or building stuff related or anything like that. You can go over to the WPwatercooler.com/WP Show and Tell and fill out the form there at the very bottom and let me know the thing that you built. And if you want to kind of get together and we can talk about it, and you can get 15 minutes to talk about it. Kind of full-blown pitch, have at it. Just tell us everything about it. But you have to do a live demo. That's the only thing. It needs to be a live demo because people want to know how to use this stuff. So that's it. So go check that out. If you haven't used Beaver Tunnels, we actually did a whole thing about Beaver Tunnels over there. So it's a add-on for Beaver Builder, which is an add-on for WordPress. So you can go check that out. If you hit those two requirements, you can get that third one and check out that thing and see how that all works. So let's get on with the show. Man, we did like a whole like advertisement and inner office interconnected advertisement.
We should advertise our own shows on our show.
We totally should. I started doing it over at I started doing it on WP Watercooler, and everybody's looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I do other things. I don't just hang out with you guys on Mondays, but I do other stuff too.
No, but we're serious to listen to talk radio all day long, and there's this financial guy, and his whole show is an ad for his seminar.
Oh my goodness!
The whole thing. It's one of those stockbroker people like on the weekend.
Oh wow!
It's like, oh my god, this whole show is an ad. You can't take it. And that reminds me, on Saturday we have a webinar, and you're just like, oh my god, I want to die. Make it stop.
Oh man! So tonight we're talking about backups. Bridget, what kind of backup stuff have you used in the past?
Okay.
What's the thing that you've used?
Well, I know my friend Jason Tucker says if you've never restored from a backup, you don't have a backup.
This is totally true.
But I use Updraft Plus, and it goes to my Dropbox.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how to make those three files happen. I have used an export from desktop server and then imported it back up as a zip file. And I've used the export from WordPress.com when I made my self-hosted.
Yeah.
Where you take that XML file and then you upload that. But I've never restored from a backup. I have no idea. I just use something and other people keep saying they like it. I haven't ever had to do it yet. So
that's the scary part. It's like,
really scary.
You build this thing, you put all this love, you put all this energy into it, and you're like, okay, I hope you don't die someday. And then you walk away, you're like, please don't mess up. And then what ends up happening, the thing blows up on you, and you're like, no, I changed something.
I think it's just because I'm afraid of the WordPress-ness of that. So my photos are backed up on Photos on Apple. They're backed up on Dropbox. And they're backed up on Google's Photos. So
I'm the exact same way.
My photos are all backed up. I don't, like, my BridgetWiller.com goes down. I don't know. My photos, I got them in 3 places at least. Plus, they're always on the house computer. Plus, I have Bulldog Backup, which I used when we went from PC to Mac.
Yeah.
So I've done that. I've done a backup from a backup to a computer.
Yeah.
But I've never done restored from a backup on a WordPress install. So do you need the whole database, or do you need the files and the database? Like, give us some of the lowdown on.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing to kind of cover. So, yeah, you definitely have 2 different things that you're working with. You have the database itself, which that contains all of your posts. It contains all of the metadata regarding your posts. It contains all the users that are on your site. Pretty much everything that is in that database will be in that database backup. And so with that, that's the thing that, we were talking earlier before the show started, where we're trying to figure out, like, what's the things that, you usually back up. And so the database backup, especially if you have a really small site, that thing's going to be teeny tiny. I mean, it's almost to the point where you can probably, like, email that thing to your email address, which is funny because I used to actually use Gmail as, like, my backup solution. It would do a nightly backup of my database.
Wow.
Email it to my Gmail, and I'm like, I got unlimited Gmail. Have at it.
Right.
And so it would just store all of it there. The thing is with that is, something happens with your Gmail account. It gets compromised. Somebody can download the zip file that's attached to the email and blah, blah, blah. It can happen to anything. So if you go and upload this stuff to some website and the link is publicly accessible, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
So that's the first part, is just the database side of it.
So do you need that though?
And that's the stuff that can be compressed really easily because it's text.
Okay.
And text can be compressed super duper, tight. So that backup file could shrink down tremendously after it's zipped up and compressed, and then, put onto Dropbox or whatever. We can have a zillion of them on there and not even really think about it. The big one is your files getting backed up.
Like,
so when you do a file backup,
pictures.
Yeah. So when you're doing a file backup, you're actually backing up you're backing up everything that's within, like, the root of your website. So the web root of your website, which would be where all of those, like, WP- folders are. So WP-content, WP-admin, blah, 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 all that stuff. Well, everything that's WP- that's all part of WordPress core, including all the PHP files that are kind of lateral of it, or rather in the same directory as it. Once you get into WP content, that's where kind of the more customized stuff resides. That's where it's where all of your themes are at. So in the themes directory, that's where all your plugins are at in the plugins directory. That's where the uploads folder is. And then the uploads folder is where things get interesting, because WordPress is a little weird in the way in which it kind of allows the developers to put stuff in certain places within the WordPress. I'm going to close the door real quick. 1 second. So that's where that place is pretty much where all of those types of files reside. So you want to make sure that when that backup happens, that you have ample disk space for that backup, because the files that are in there are going to be copied someplace else temporarily. Right. Then they're going to be compressed, and then they're going to either sit there, or like you were doing using Dropbox, it's going to take that file, use something to upload to Dropbox, and then it gets stored on Dropbox. Which also means you need storage on Dropbox.
Right, I pay $10 a month for that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's plenty of places to do that at. What else? Have you only used Dropbox for that?
Yeah, because I bought the unlimited Dropbox. So
okay.
I don't know if SiteGround has a thing like WP Engine where they
do backups or something like that.
I haven't even looked. They probably do, and I don't even know.
Well, you know,
pop quiz.
You kind of might as well. You kind of might as well. You know, I'm not saying that you need to back up everything all the time, but having, especially if the company's already doing backups for you, just making sure that you have at least like one copy of it someplace, and that you keep that up to date a little bit just to make sure. But you're talking about Updraft Plus. I like that. I like that plugin a lot. It's nice because it supports a whole bunch of really cool stuff. I'm going to read here because I can't. I don't remember them off the top of my head. But they support Amazon S3, which if you've ever used Amazon S3, a lot of companies use that for storage, and it's ridiculously cheap. So Amazon S3 is a place that they could do it at. They also do Rackspace cloud storage, Google Drive, Google Cloud Storage, DreamHost's DreamObjects, which is something I probably should have used back in the day. I don't know if that existed at that point, but you can also just FTP it. So let's say you have a web host someplace and you have another web host someplace. You can take your files and move them to another location and have them stored over there. And then it also says that it supports email. So if you wanted to email your backup, you could totally do that. And then it supports all these other things that you can do as well. So yeah, it's good. It's easy, and it's Bridgetable. Dun, dun, dun.
But then I noticed that it only makes it makes like 2 or 3 files. Like I should have logged into my Dropbox earlier so I could.
Yeah, it makes a file. If I remember correctly here, because it's. I'll tell you why I don't remember, because I've been using other things for this stuff now. But it backs up your stuff most likely as a zip file for your database as well as for your files separate, I'd imagine. I haven't tested it in a little while, so I'll have to probably swing back around and take a look at it there.
Yeah, because 4 hours ago it made 4 files for BridgetWiller.com.
Okay. The other thing that they launched.
5 files.
Yeah, the other thing that they launched not too long ago is called Updraft Central, which is like a central repository for all of your stuff. So that might be something to look into as well. I haven't really explored that at all, but I guess that's a kind of a way of being able to do your controlling of both your that plugin and have it doing all the updates as well as taking care of any of the backups.
I mean, I just kind of wish it was one file because I know how to upload a zip file. That's all. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But it's okay to have more than one file, because the reason being that those zip files, one contains a database, which is going to be teeny tiny, and the other one's going to contain all of the data.
Yeah.
The one I've used is the most is one by iThemes, and that's Backup Buddy. I like this one a lot. I think they've kind of gone a pretty smart way with it. The interface is really nice and clean and just kind of works. I like it. And being able to restore stuff, they have another plugin called or another script for it called Import Buddy. If I remember right, you just stick it into like the root directory of the site. You go to that particular URL. It goes, oh, let me find my files, and it finds the files and it restores them, and you're done.
Yeah, I'm just on my Grow Big account. I don't know if that's a factor, but I do have a basic backup service. Because now that was driving me crazy, I couldn't focus.
Yeah.
On SiteGround, in my Grow Big plan, I do have a base. It's called Basic Backup Service. Whatever that means. And there's a button that says Restore. So in theory, I don't know though. So I do have 2 backups. I just don't know how to restore from them.
Right. Well,
but I do know some people.
You definitely know some people. You probably have access to all of their social media accounts too, so you can just totally hold them hostage and be like, look, if this site isn't restored in 12 hours, Devin, I hate to tell you this, but you're just going to have kittens posted all over your Instagrams and Twitters.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's tricky, right? Restoring from a backup.
Yeah, it is tricky because when, especially if you're working on a site that isn't like your cat blog, isn't like, you update the site once a week or once a month or once a year. Mm-hmm. When you're restoring a site that is in full blown production, that's when it's really scary because you're like, I have 50 writers and they're all writing blog posts. Hey folks, can you stop making money for a minute so I can restore the database? And all of you commenters, can you stop commenting for a few minutes so I can restore the database? And you restore the database and poof, all the stuff goes away and then you're really screwed.
Can you upload to a staging and then throw it over to production?
You could. The only the tricky part about a site where there's a lot of stuff going on is that it's constantly moving and constantly adding data to that database. And so restoring back to it, and that's kind of where this gets a little tricky. It depends on the plugin and how well it's set up. Sometimes you can restore just your posts. That's pretty rad. Nice.
That's for Jamal. I just became the mayor of WPblab.
Nice.
So, sweet sassy Molassie.
That's awesome. You could, depending on the plugin, you totally could go and restore just a particular portion of it.
Tricky.
One of the things that Jonathan's talking about in the chat is, putting the site in maintenance mode, which totally makes sense. Yeah, you pretty much install. There's tons of plugins that do this. So what it does is makes it so any site, any page that the person goes to, it actually goes and redirects them to a page that says, "I'm sorry, but this site is currently in maintenance mode. There's nothing you can do on here. Go away."
I saw one of those this week. It's like, what?
Yeah, and if you want to, you could go download a fail whale and stick the fail whale up there if you wanted to, just to kind of relive your days of yore.
Days of glory. I love the fail whale. I wish they'd bring it back.
Yup. So another one is called WordPress. Mm-hmm. And Sayreed is the one. Sayreed's the only one that I know that uses it, like uses it and preaches it and talks about it. And it's like, it's the best thing ever. I'm okay with it. Like I've used they have two plans. I've used the basic plan, which is for $9 a month. They also have a plan that is $29 a month. The differences between those, the one big one that I'm seeing that probably makes the most sense is for $29 a month, you get real-time backups. So that means when a post happens on the site, it takes that information and sends it over to WordPress.
Yeah.
So every single thing is being backed up to WordPress.
So if your site is making money, then that's important. But if you're just blogging once a week.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, just like what Kevin's saying. It depends on
your volume, right? Like if you're...
It does. It totally does. So, if you're backing up, if you have a news site and you're needing to have all that stuff backed up all the time, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Kevin's talking about in the chat having a learning management system. How sucky would it be that you're you have all these students in your course, right? And they sat there and they listened to your 30-minute thing for the day, and then they go and have to do a quiz. So they do a quiz, and then at the end of the quiz, I'm so sorry. you're screwed. Our site got hacked, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't have any backups. So all of you guys that did everything for the week, you're going back a week.
Yep. That happened to me in real life in elementary school. Because I lived in one town, and we had 3 different schools.
Right.
I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember the SRA reading program, but I had done all of that, but they lost my records somehow in this town where I was one of a class of 100. Okay? Like, small town. So I get to 4th grade, and I have to do it. I get to 3rd grade, and I have to start all over again. So I did the entire elementary school in like a year and a half. And then, because my last name is McCann, the principal went in there in 4th grade. You know how embarrassing that is? I walked into class and started chanting, Bridget McCann can. So when you were in a small school, when you graduate from high school with the same people you spent your entire life with, they are chanting Bridget McCann can.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that I could relate to the learning management thing because I had to start SRA all over again. That would suck.
Jeez,
especially if you paid for it, because a lot of the learning managements are paid, right? That's how people are making money. Like, I will teach you Twitter for only $19.95 a minute or whatever, right?
Oh man. So
just
in the chat,
a fun story in there.
In the chat, they mentioned Blog Vault. If you've ever migrated a website to WP Engine, you've probably used Blog Vault. They actually partnered up with WP Engine to kind of set it up so that way when you have a site and you want to move it to WP Engine, they kind of set up the Blog Vault account for you, and then you put in all your credentials and all the stuff that you need, and it just transfers your site over to WP Engine and you're good to go. So yeah, Blog Vault, I have used that. I've used it not as a paying customer, but as someone who's migrated a site to it or using it. Looks like it's $9 for one site, and it is $19 for 3 sites and $39 for 7 sites, and that's per month. And then they have unlimited plans. So if you're ridiculous like WP Engine is, and you just have a zillion customers, yeah, you would probably, kick down $5,989 a year to just like migrate all of the sites.
So
Why not?
I have a question. Like, do some hosts, like they do with caching plugins, do they have a preferred backup plugin?
Yeah, well, I don't think they're using plugins. Yeah, so what they're probably doing is running scripts on the back end that will go and grab the database. So it does a MySQL DB dump, and it just dumps the database, and it makes just a file. They zip it up, they throw it someplace. Then they go into the folders, and they go and back up all the files within the folders, excluding a bunch of files that they know that they shouldn't back up. Take all that stuff and then back that up. So they just do it on the back end, and they use something called cron usually to do it, and that's just the thing that they it's the way in which it's like a scheduler in Linux. And so what it does is just says, hey, you, it's 7:00. I want you to go run the script, and when you're done, let me know. And it just runs the script and backs up all the stuffs and moves it over to the correct spot, and you're good to go. So yeah, that's what's he saying here? Done. What's done? Jonathan, what is done? Oh, check him out. So Jonathan and I earlier were talking about his backup solution and how he goes about backing up stuff. Yeah, so we were talking about it, and we're like, you should probably go and upload that over to GitHub. Why not? And so this is the command that he's sort of kind of in a weird way. You're not a big scripter person or anything, but the idea is that he has a command that's in here that's just going like, hey, I want you to go back up the stuff, and here's where I want you to back it up, and I want you to spit it out to this file. So that's all he's doing. So that's kind of cool.
You just made a WordPress plugin right now?
No, this is actually outside of WordPress, which is nice because let's say your site is like broken, right? And it needs to be backed up. like you've screwed it up or something. This thing will still back up the site, even though it doesn't actually. It's like it's not talking to WordPress. It's just grabbing all the files and doing all the things that it needs to.
It's doing it. Oh, okay.
It's all command line outside of WordPress. Kind of like the same interface that Pete, when you hear somebody talk about WP CLI, it's exactly like that type of thing.
So you're talking to the database, not to the WordPress.
Right. You're actually not even talking to the web server, which would be like Apache or Nginx or whatever it is that's making that happen. So when you go to the website, it's using a web server to make that show up.
Wow.
And it's usually those two technologies, Apache or Nginx.
Well, Jay Purple Man needs to put on his headphones, turn on his light, and come and hang out with us.
Right? He should drop some knowledge bombs on us. Why not?
Yeah.
Sweet. See, look. Okay, so you asked for him to join, and then look who tries to join.
See, a little bit of competition never hurt anybody.
Sure, why not, Russ? We'll let you in.
I haven't seen Russ in 10 years.
I know. But Jonathan, you need to hop in as well. Please do. Love to have you.
Hi, Russ.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We can.
We can.
Right on, right on. What are you guys talking about?
Backups.
We're talking about backups.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
So can I tell you about a backup story that happened to me this week?
Of course you can.
Do.
So part of
but you need to make it look like you need to make it look like Blair Witch Project and really shake the camera a lot when you're doing it.
I'm walking around. I'm sorry. I'm out back. I'm grilling right now, Jason. Leave me alone.
Oh my gosh.
As long as I get to see what you're grilling at some point here.
It's not my hamburger.
You have the floor, Russ. You have the floor.
Can you see what I'm grilling?
Steak.
Oh,
gee.
That's lovely.
So we have a brand new client, and they're on GoDaddy, and so we use Managed WP. And for some reason, Managed WP can't connect to the GoDaddy site, and so we can't make a backup. So we have installed Backup Buddy, we have installed Updraft, we have installed BackWP Up, we have installed Jason Tucker's favorite plugin called Jason Tucker Backs Up WordPress. I can't make a backup to save my life.
Oh, man.
Part of the problem is that they have 10,000 different MP3 files. And so it's like causing an error.
Yeah.
Because they're not hosting their podcast on like Podbean or Stitcher or anything like that. They're just like, let's put it on our server.
Oh, that's awful. Don't ever do that.
Just joking when you said that.
Nope.
So how many files are there, Russ?
So the website goes back to 2013.
Wow.
Can you guys hear me?
So each one of those files is like, let's say like 30, 40 megs each, right?
Man.
That's crazy, dude. That's a lot of stuff.
I think we lost
a lot of stuff.
I think we lost him in the grilling safari.
At least.
Yeah. Hey, Jonathan, how's it going,
Jason,
dude?
I'm here. You hear me?
Yeah, I'm gonna kick Russ out because he's just like right on the edge of his house where he's not getting Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
He needs to get good Wi-Fi next to his barbecue. Come on.
Seriously.
Yeah,
there should be like a dedicated access point floating right above that thing, ready to go.
That's a blab. No other reason. Just
exactly.
So what stuff other than the backup solution that you came up with, Jonathan, have you used that like mere mortals can use?
He's so far above mere mortals.
Well, the thing is,
he's like, well, I used a zip disk way back in the day, and I had a Jazz drive, but I don't know.
Okay, so for websites wise, at work, I'm using whatever work has. We've got like this enterprise level system, so that's not mere mortals. But basically, even just downloading the files from SFTP, just download the files onto your hard drive. And that's it. And just take.
You mean like manually?
Oh yeah, you can just, instead of uploading the files, don't put them up, take them down. Just take them down at that point, and what you
that
can
might
do,
actually be bridgeable.
That would be definitely.
I know how to use FTP.
Oh, there you go. So if you can bring down the files, and then with a client, or even with cPanel. In fact, come to think of it, what you can do is a lot of the web hosts out there have a cPanel or something similar to cPanel.
Right.
And in cPanel, you can actually click a backup button, and it'll create an entire file that you can then download that entire one file, and it's your entire website and your backup, and it's everything in one file. That
might be good, like at the end of the month. Like here's my June 30th.
Yeah.
Because
basically.
I'm only keeping 3 days, for example, of Updraft Plus. But if something happens something happened before May 30th, I mean, after May 30th, but before now, then even my backup would be wrong. Like, if something horrible happened and there was malware, and I'm just copying the malware.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saying if you FTP down, like, because I'm a routine-oriented person, so, like, just bring it down to my level, which we, as a joke, call bridgeable. If I went to FTP, I used FileZilla or went to the cPanel, like you said, and I pull that down, I could just do that at the end of the month. It's like my regular maintenance, and then label it.
I would actually do it a little bit more often, because what happens is that, especially in the event of getting hacked and whatnot, generally what's happening is that the hackers are not even a person, it's a robot. Therefore, it's a computer. It's all automated. So what they're going to do is they're going to scan your site at a certain time frame, whatever that time frame is. So they scan it, let's say, beginning of the month. They scan your site, and they've got an entire list of sites to scan. So they're scanning, and then like 3 weeks later, they'll come back, because they know they can hack you. They'll come back 3 weeks later and do the deed, which means
so like the 1st and the 15th, like your paychecks.
Yeah, something like that, And then basically what happens is that you don't realize until like a week later after they've hacked you, and then all of a sudden your backup of 3 days ago is still garbage.
Yep.
Right.
So the backups, yesterday's backup is useless to you at this point.
Right.
What you need is definitely a backup of at least every weekend. Because the thing is, for me, it's all automated. But what I do is I actually store backups for every single day of the week, a weekly backup on the weekend, and then I also store a monthly backup. So I keep basically the dailies, the weeklies, the monthlies. So if anything gets corrupted in the days, I can go to the weekly, and then if anything gets corrupted in the weeklies, I can go to the monthly. Yes, I'm pretty particular about backups.
As you should be, because it only takes you one time to get screwed over to realize, oh, yeah, I don't have a good backup solution. Yeah, which also means that you also do some type of testing of your backups to make sure that you can actually restore them properly. Which, Bridget, if you're using, let's say it's your site and you have, say, 200 megs worth of data on your site, or 300 megs worth of data on your site, you could download that and load it up on desktop server just to see if it shows up and looks okay. Just to test it out. You're like, well, I want to check it out and see. There's other places you could do it as well, like WP Stagecoach was one of the things that Say was talking about. You could totally use that as a way of testing it to make sure that works okay. So there's plenty of places. You could even spin up another WordPress installation, and if you're using Backup Buddy or any of those other ones that have a restore function, just restore it in there just to see if it restores properly. Because you don't have a good backup until you've actually restored it at least once.
Right, I know.
At that point, you have hope. You're like, You're like, I
You're
hope
like the
and I
Jiminy
pray that
Cricket
this works.
of my WordPress world. You're just sitting there going, and always let your backup be your guide. Just in my ear. So if you're doing FTP, if you're doing a manual FTP download backup, what are you backing up? What are you pulling down?
You're basically pulling down your entire WordPress core. You're pulling down all your plugins. You're pulling down your theme or themes. You're pulling down your media files and
so
anything
WP
else.
content.
No, you're pulling WP core, or whatever the core
Okay.
is.
Is that the name of the folder?
It's the folder.
Taking notes here.
Here, I'll show you what core is right here. If you click on this link here.
This is no joke over here. I mean, this is part of my learning process.
Core is all those PHP files that are in there that start with WP and a whole bunch of other files.
Okay.
So you're pulling down basically WordPress.
Yep.
Okay.
WordPress from WordPress.org. That's what you're pulling down. And we've
already established that my content is in those.
Exactly. It's a folder there.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, because one of the folders is the WP content folder, which has all of those media files and stuff in there.
Because see, this is more technical than being in the dashboard.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, is unless you download that zip file and double click on it and then have it expand out and go, oh, here's all the files, you have no clue what you're backing up. You may be backing up nothing. You may download a 0-bit file and go like, oh, I don't have a backup.
Yeah.
Well, it's starting to freak me out because you guys are in my head now.
What's good about Jonathan's process here is that since he's also backing up core with the actual all of your files and stuff, it is in state exactly the way in which it was set up. So that way you are running the exact same version of WordPress that you were running on the original site. You're also running it here. So if you neglected to update your version of WordPress, you can at least restore it to the correct version of it and look at it and make sure it's working okay. Because sometimes there is good reason to not update WordPress.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I'm not saying that that's like, standard issue here or anything, but there are times where you don't upgrade WordPress for whatever reason, or you've backed out of a version that's messed up or what have you, and you just want to be able to have it restored. Maybe you're in the middle of development and you backed up that site and you're running a beta version of WordPress and you needed to have that particular version running. Yep, makes perfect sense.
That makes perfect sense to me. Somehow I feel like a little more grounded.
Yeah, download a copy of your backup and double click on it and on your computer and just have it expand out in the folder and whatever, and look at it and just look and see. And if you have FTP access to your site, FTP and compare the two, and you'll see that every single file is going to be in that backup. And if it's not, that means your script is the plugin that you're using to generate that file is making good choices as to which things it shouldn't back up, like cache files and stuff like that.
Cache files, log files.
Yeah.
What else? Also, the thing is, technically, this is not a real backup, but it's still a very good practice to do anyway. Git is also, it's not a true backup, but it's a way in the event that anything gets hosed on the website, I use Git as a first level attempt. Can I restore quickly a site? Mm-hmm. So ideally, what will happen is that Git is a tool that allows you to version your code, and it stores a snapshot of every single change in your code. Therefore, what happens is that in the event that I am hacked, automatically I'm going to see, can I restore from Git? If I can restore from Git, okay, cool. Otherwise, then I'm going to go to backup. So, but the thing is, if you're going to use Git, automatically you're taking it to the next level.
We're not there yet. You already moved up a level, Bridget. You can't move up 2 levels in one day. You got to do one at a time.
My street cred as a beginner, but I'm writing down notes. So let me ask you a question. So just in case other people are wondering who are watching in their home studios. And if you just tuned in, we're talking about backups in WordPress. So You know, a lot of times, like I use Managed WP for just being able to keep my sites updated. I do it on Mondays. It's called Managed WP Monday because I have to have gimmicks. That's how I keep organized. And nobody else has. I mean, it's not their gimmick. It's my gimmick. But so it'll say you have all these revisions. Do you want to clean up your revisions? So our revisions, how do those play into your whole backup scenario?
Okay, the revisions, what happens is that every time you save a post, a page, a post, whatever, every time you save, there's a revision. So you can actually see all of those physical revisions if you go to the right-hand side. It's right near the post button, the publish button or the update button, and it's your history of the post. Every one of those little notches in the timeline is physically a revision. Therefore, you can go back to a certain date on your post, and you can see what changed from a certain date to another date. So all that data, all those revisions are stored in the database. So
how many of those revisions do you think you need to keep? Is it a good process to clean those every X amount, or is there any kind of?
That's actually a very good question. I've had a very heated battle with my colleague on that one topic.
Oh wow! Okay, well, I was just curious. Like,
no.
Yeah, we're throwing blows.
Yeah, because
give me back my revision.
Exactly. Yeah. Jason's right. It depends because a longer think about it. In a school, things happen every single semester. Every single fall, we do the exact same thing. Therefore, having, let's say for argument's sake, we had 100 revisions, we could technically probably maybe go back to last year, and literally go back into the history of the post and just pull out the exact same content we posted last year. Therefore, we don't technically have to retype it. That's why you might want to have longer revisions. The problem is, if you're going to update that post every single day, then you're going to have 365 revisions at a bare minimum.
But instead of 365 posts.
Instead of 365 single post. Yeah. So it depends. Having more revisions.
I don't like that answer. I think it's a cop-out, you guys.
Yeah, it totally is a cop-out. It's great, and I use it every single week. It's awesome.
I can't believe you made that sign.
I had to. This is, and I ran out of room like a little kid would. See, I like started big and went small.
Oh,
so
man.
The thing is with revisions, you generally want to clear them out at a certain time frame because it's going to bloat up the database. It's going to blow it up. It's going to slow down your site. It's just more.
Oh, okay.
It's ultimately more things WordPress has to go through and or ignore just to pull out your data, to pull out your page. So,
and are those revisions part of a standard backup?
Those revisions will be in your backups, absolutely.
So if I did my backup on Friday and I did Managed WP Monday, then I could clean my revisions on WP Monday.
Yeah, but then you have to come up with
I already
different
had them on
hashtags.
Friday.
The hashtags are gonna get too long, Bridget. You're gonna run out of Twitter content.
Yeah.
I live by gimmicks. I gamify my entire. That's how I get so much done.
You're like, I can't have breakfast until I manage WP Monday. Here we go.
Yeah, I have it on my calendar. I write it down, and then Monday is management day, and that's when I go to who unfollowed me and unfollow people who are not following me. I do all my maintenance on Monday. Monday is maintenance day.
Mine too, but mine's all scripted and it just happens.
Okay, so you made elves. I am the elf.
This is true. Yep.
We have totally all levels of WordPress users represented at WPblab.
Yeah,
but I like that answer, because that makes sense. But if you're just one person, if you're just BridgetWiller.com, you're the only one who's blogging on it.
Yep.
There's random people logging and doing stuff, and you're like, hey, I put a period there. Why did you delete it? Like, you don't have these, revision wars, for lack of a better term. Right. If you're your own person, then you can get rid of them.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you've got a smaller site, when you've got a less high traffic site, when the content is less scrutinized, as Kevin actually put in the chat, he puts 3, and 3 is a good number, definitely. There's a line that you could add to your WP config file, and you can force revisions to a certain number. So so you can
because a person who's a one-person blog is going to be in their WP config file.
Hey, there is probably some there's probably some one-line plugin that's sitting out there that, I kid you not, put that one line of text in there and that's it.
Yeah.
That was like at our meetup last month. They're like, well, if you can't make a custom post type, are you going to really be in the WP CLI? I just bring it down, folks.
I totally get it. But what's funny is a lot of times there's these plugins that are in the repo and they spend more time writing all the fluff around the thing when all it is one line of code that just says, make the revision be no greater than 3. And that's it. That's like the only thing that's in there. But they had to write this whole plugin to like set that.
Yeah.
So if you're compulsive about pressing save, then you're creating your own revision problems.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
I'm not thinking about anybody, but it might be me. See, I was a secretary for a long time, so like if anybody talks to me, I'm like Control S. Yes. Like
if I was gonna pick one or the other, I am the guy who always saves. I save regularly. Yeah. I save often. That's what I was told when I was in grade school. Save regularly, save often. Because you're sitting there writing, I'm in C++ class. I'm sitting there writing in C, and then somebody says something, the power goes out, and we're all like, "Oh crap!" And then it comes back on again. We're like, "Oh, let's open our files." And you're like, "Dude, I had 200 lines, and now I have 12. This is great. I'm so glad I have the header, and that's about it."
Elementary school, you're doing this in elementary school. Middle school. So when I was in elementary school, I was getting dysentery. And you're writing. This is why this show has such a diversity, folks, right?
This is so true.
Couldn't even get to Oregon, but here I am.
Hey man, as long as I got to shoot all of the things, then that was fine.
Oh my god! Oh man, Jonathan, you need to be on this show with us more often. You are super smart. I love the strategy. It's a good idea. Daily, weekly, monthly. Absolutely. Make it happen.
Yeah. Yearly, every decade, every 2 decades. You got to have all of it. You got to make sure that, dude, come on, dude. We're already at 10 years. We're past 10 years. We're at 13 years.
13 is
two more years, and you'll have that decade and half decade, sitting there ready to go.
Oh my gosh. People change jobs too much for that.
You better write those. You got 2 more lines in cron you got to put in there, dude, to be able to get those other extras in there. Dude, I just broke Jonathan. That's awesome.
Oh, you're making me laugh. My cheeks hurt.
So let's talk about a couple other things that people have mentioned in the chat. So there's a few other ones that are in here. So one of the ones that I've used in the past when migrating sites from my live site onto a desktop server is one called Duplicator. And somebody mentioned it in the chat.
Yes, but okay, that's one I actually have experience with.
There's that one.
BridgetWiller.com was too big for that.
Yeah, no, this happens. This totally happens.
Like there was some weirdo thing, and Greg had to get me through it. Like typically, you had to install another plugin.
Yeah. Typically, what ends up happening is the thing takes too long, and the web server just goes like, dude, this took more than 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And this thing isn't multi-threaded, and I'm kind of done with you. So, and it just kills it.
That's what happens. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Who knew? I probably have done this before. So there's that. The other thing is we were talking earlier about backing up the databases. Once you restore your database and your files and all that stuff into, say, desktop server, for instance, or if you're using MAMP, WAMP, XAMPP, or whatever, you can use SQL Pro. And so SQL Pro actually lets you connect into your local database, because if you're running desktop server, you're running a MySQL database on your computer, and you can run SQL Pro to kind of look and see all the stuff that's in that database. So Bridget, if you want to like level up like 6 times up, you can install SQL Pro and then start poking around in there, and then find a thing that looks like a serialized array, and then like start changing stuff in there and hit save, and things just break, and you're like, no.
Remember that day when the internet went down? That was me.
Yeah, so whatever you do, once you're in there, don't start changing stuff. Like that's the thing you don't want to do. Feel free to look at it. If you want to look at it and say, oh, that's what a database table is. Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, there's things in there that if you change it and you don't change it the right way, the WordPress will not boot up.
No, fear is a good thing. People say you shouldn't be afraid, but also,
well, if you're running this on desktop server locally, change everything. Who cares? Break stuff.
Oh yeah.
Learn about it.
Yep.
Ooh, look, there's one entry in here that says this is my website title. I wonder what that does. And you just go change it, and you're like, oh, look, it changed the website title on the website. This is so cool. Yeah. So yeah. It's okay to play as long as you're doing it locally and you're not going to hurt anybody. Right, exactly.
By yourself.
So the other one that somebody was mentioning here, which I've never seen or heard or have looked at before, is called CodeGuard. Who was it that mentioned CodeGuard? Let me look in here.
I can't remember.
Jonathan did. Well, Jonathan,
not me.
You need to come in here and defend yourself and defend your.
There's 2 Jonathans.
Jonathan, hop on in, dude. Does Jonathan know how to use Blab? I'm curious.
Blab every Saturday for like 5 hours.
Jonathan, you know how to use Blab, right? I just want to make sure.
What's happening,
Jonathan? Did you get the Blab working correctly?
My ears!
Oh, I love it, Jonathan. You totally broke everything. So your microphone's jacked up.
Oh, is it? It's true.
It sure is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. You totally sound like the Cylons.
That's awesome.
We're talking about the old toast, not the new toast.
I'm not using Chrome, so I will.
Yeah, you got to refresh or something, man.
It's bad.
Come back though. I want you to talk a little bit about CodeGuard.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was.
I love that, right, Bridget? So come on.
Wow.
I called it. I'm like, oh, I don't think you've ever used Blab before, and then sure enough, he hops in here and the dang thing doesn't work.
That's Blab. Blab does what Blab does.
I was gonna blame the British guy, but yeah, it's probably just Blab. This actually looks pretty interesting. This CodeGuard thing. I'm kind of interested in it. I shall have to play with it.
Okay,
it's even they claim that it's PCI compliant. That's interesting.
What does that mean? The security stuff.
That somebody had to bless it, and then they had to put it in a different room, and that room is inside of a room that's inside of another room that is totally locked up, and you can't do anything with it.
Okay.
What about now?
There you go. There he is.
Hey!
Oh, much better.
See, Jonathan, I was just explaining what PCI compliance was. Horribly. I was just messing around, actually. I wasn't trying to get all detailed. So what's CodeGuard? What have you used it for? And how much money are you making when we click on your link?
You've really been nasty to me. really are being a bit.
Oh, Don, I love you, dude. So tell us about it. I'm curious.
There's no referral link there, Mr. Tucker.
It's Uncle Tucker to you.
Yeah, come on.
Holy crap.
Oh, God.
So $5 a month, and you can what? You can back up with it? It does daily backups?
Yeah, what I kind of used
monitoring.
it for, it's the kind of final, if everything else has gone pear-shaped, I kind of set up a $5 account, and it's a bit like the other, and I think you got great taste, all these Jonathans you're having on the show. Yeah. I think that's always a really, and all the same spelling as well. I kind of use it as the final safeguards for $5.
A backup of your backup?
Yeah, that's what I kind of use it for. Just as I've only had to use it twice in about 5 years. but it's nice to know that if literally everything fails, I can kind of go back to that.
Are you ever hitting that 5 gigabytes per site limit?
Well, there's
small to me. I don't know how much a gigabyte is.
No, that's huge. That's pretty big.
5 gigabytes?
No. Okay. Let me kind of
the context of my iPhone.
Right. So let me kind of clarify a little bit. So 5 gigs. Let's. This is a perfect example to talk about real quick. We'll just kind of make a quick left turn. So, 5 gigabytes isn't a lot of space when you're talking about on your phone or on your whatever. But if your website in total is 5 gigabytes, that means it's all of the files, like all of those images, and all the 12 different copies of it that WordPress has made. So, it's the one that's for the large one, it's the medium one, it's a small one, it's the Facebook-sized one, the Twitter-sized one, thumbnails, all that stuff. So, it could get huge pretty fast. And if you're somebody who didn't take our recommendations from earlier, like 10 different episodes ago, don't host your own video files on your server.
Or your podcast.
Or don't host your podcast on your server. Oh, boy. So really, 5 gigs is pretty good. And what's nice about 5 gigs is that's probably how many times you can have it backed up. So if your site's only 100 megs, that's a decent amount of disk space to work with.
Well, the only thing is like what the other great Jonathan said is the only problem, and this has happened to me, and it caused me a lot of pain. Was when you get a hacker and they're not one of these script kiddies, they really know what they're doing. Ooh. And get in and you have no sign, and they're using it. A lot of the times they're using it for SEO purposes, and they're hiding it really well until your site gets blacklisted. And that happened to me about 2 years ago, got blacklisted, and all my backups, all of them had been infected because the only thing that got me, and I still do it now, and it's really quite anal, but the only reason I do it because of this experience is every 6 months I download everything and the database and I burn it to a CD and I'll put it somewhere. And
CD?
Yeah, see, I literally download everything.
But what computer do you have that still has a CD drive? That's the problem.
I've got an external one.
You don't put it on the AS400 that you have right over there?
Yeah, I've got an external one here.
Oh, man. Kevin, oh, my God. I mean, I still have a 2008 MacBook, so I have a CD drive. I'm just saying, that's the problem.
That's why I've got an external CD drive, because that's the only time I ever use it is to burn this backup, and I label it with the date, and it goes into somewhere that I know I can get them. Because the only reason I do it is of this horrendous experience I had.
You're making mixtapes, Jonathan. Come on.
So that means that your backups are only less than 650 megs.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah. Well, no, it's a DVD.
Oh, so you got you have a small site. You got some gigs to work with. Yeah.
But I only do that because of that horrendous experience. But that sometimes they just won't just hack in and make it obvious. The ones you got to really worry about are the ones that hack in that don't. And I think the other thing because I had to help a client a week ago with this, is the other thing. We kept cleaning this site up and it kept getting hacked. And then I started asking the client questions. And I'm not a PC support person, but it became obvious to us that their actual computer had been hacked, and that's how they were getting all their credentials. That
was an epic eye roll, Jonathan. We need a gif of that.
Because you really should try and persuade them to use LastPass or 1Password, because they got that's why they were getting all these credentials, and that's why every time we cleaned it up, they were getting hacked in because
password.txt just sits there on the right in the root of the site, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like when you get strep throat, you change your toothbrush.
And we recommended that they went to their bank account and found out they had any money to pay us. They're
like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I keep all of my passwords in the cloud. It's super easy. You just go to my website /password.txt and it's right there. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's what you should do.
Okay, so I have a legitimate question now that we've talked about all this. No, but seriously, I got strep throat 3 times in high school, and finally they're like, change your toothbrush. Because it's a virus, right? Anyway, so
was you talking to me, Bridget? Or
no, I'm just saying, like, if you get bronchitis or strep throat or something like that, you need to ditch that toothbrush and start over. That sounded like what you were saying to me. I like analogies.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're going to use a CD, why not just use an external hard drive?
It was cheaper using a DVD because I got a stack. I was given a stack for Christmas 5 years ago, and I still haven't used them all. What do you use them for? I don't. It's the only time I ever get the frigging thing out to do it. I had my sister bought me a pack, about 100 DVDs about 5 years ago, and I think I've still only used about half of them.
Just so you know that those CDs and DVDs typically have like organic materials inside of them, and light and air and just like life in general just eats those things alive. So
they're stored in darkness. I mean,
okay.
I'm English. I don't go out into the light. You don't understand the English mentality, really. I'm used to London, Uncle Taco. It's like it makes Seattle look warm and sunny. So
I'm German Irish, man. I don't know.
Well, I went to the
California.
Harvard, got a sunburn in the fog.
Why do you think I immigrated to America? I have friends that ask me that ridiculously stupid question.
So you can see the sun?
Man. Yeah, I can see the sun.
So you moved to the desert on a horse with no name?
A horse with no name, dear.
Oh, man. Never mind.
I'm going.
I'll try to learn some Justin Bieber over the weekend.
So, we got Jonathan Denwood on.
Yeah, which one are you talking to? This is why you wouldn't let me on.
And he was going to tell us all about CodeGuard, but I don't know if we ever actually got to that.
Well, that's why
it's the backup of his backup.
It's the backup of my backup.
Yeah. So this is one of those ones where it was so cheap and just so easy to just set up and forget it. You set it up, you forget it, and you're like, at some point, if the thing breaks, then I just come back and fix it.
Exactly.
That's cool. All right.
Yeah, that's why I use. But I think.
What's your favorite though? What's your number one?
Well, I think that's
one of your sites.
I think to be realistic about this, I think all the ones that you've talked about are all really fantastic, and I think it's a bit like membership plugins. Is that your sport for choice? Really, all the ones that you talked about, and I think I think there's even a lot more than what we have talked about. There's so many good choices out there.
Okay, so your aunt starts using WordPress. She's going to WordCamp Vegas. You're setting her up. What do you tell her to use?
Squarespace. Sorry.
Exactly. You got it in one. Actually, well, I shouldn't say this. If it was my aunt, one of my English aunts, it probably would be Squarespace.
This is Microsoft Word. Just print them out and mail them to people. We'll be okay.
Well, I think the two leading, Backup Buddy. I think it's pretty cool now. But I use, like you, Bridget. I use Updraft.
Oh, okay.
I forgot the guy's name. He's based in the UK. Him and his team, and they seem really cool cats. And I've always used it. And one of the things that you got to keep in mind is sometimes I think it's improved recently, but sometimes it didn't restore some of the widget areas that well.
Oh.
but it depended if the widgets were from a third-party plugin. Sometimes it didn't consistently put the widget areas back. And
is that shortcode related, or?
I could never find a coherent reason that led to it. The other thing that you used to not do as well as Backup Buddy was restore all your media library. But I think over the past year they've really improved that, and I don't think that will be a problem.
Okay.
But that's just based on my personal experience of it. The other one you haven't, I forgot its name. Sugar. My brain's going to fun. I'm getting to that age where my thoughts leave me.
I'm going to try the FTP method.
Yeah.
It's reliable. I'd say it.
Well, you know what you're doing.
The only thing about the FTP method is every single little stupid file is going to be one by one downloaded and saved and downloaded and saved.
Well, for me, I don't even blog that much, and like once or twice a month, maybe.
Yeah, but every one of those images that's on your site and every copy of that image that's on your site is all going to be downloaded one by one by one by one by one.
Yeah, but it's a lot faster than what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not like you're typing in the code. It's not like you're like, FTP connect. Okay, I've connected, and then get, and then file name. Yeah, it's not like that.
Jonathan's like, come on, bro.
If you have a site that you've had since like 2000 or something like that, and you're downloading every single file that's ever been, it's going to take a while. And if you keep all your tax information and your passwords and all that stuff that's not even like linked to your website, yeah, it's going to take a while. The one thing I will tell you that downloading a backup, it's funny. This happened to me. I had a customer who they wanted me to migrate their site from one web host to another. I was like, okay, no problem. And I was like, do I have FTP access? Yes. Do I have shell access? Oh, yeah, I have shell access. Oh, great. Okay, this should be quick. Yeah. So I just, logged into the shell. I was like, okay, SFTP, pull the stuff down, or SCP, or, whatever. Grab the files and move them over. And so I'm sitting there, and I was like, oh, I'll just go lunch. I'll come back in a little bit. So I come back from lunch, and this thing's still going at it. And I've been gone for an hour. Like, how long? How big is this?
Slow.
So here's what ended up happening. The connection was lickety-split fast, but they had years and years of zip file backups, and it was backing, transferring all of those zip files from all those years, backing them up. But the problem is at one point they installed a backup software that backed up the backups and backed up the backups that were being backed up, so that those could be backed up, and then those could be backed up and backed up.
So it's like
there was zip files. There was a zip file that had a zip file with zip files with all the zip files that were zip filed with all the zip files that were zip filed with all the zips. So this thing was huge, and it was multiple huges. It took forever.
Oh my god!
So I let it run. I was like, you know what? Let's just see how many days it takes to go. The customer's paying, and this is what we're going to do. And I'm going to send them an update and say, I don't know what you backed up here, but apparently I'm downloading your entire movie collection that you uploaded to your site or something. I don't know. So that's one thing. That's one thing to worry about, is that WP content folder inside the upload folder could have ridiculous stuff in there, because depending on how old that site is, the techniques have kind of changed over the years of the way in which you store files in that particular folder. So the word upload really means like whatever the plugin generated.
Yeah,
that's where those files could reside.
My memory's sorry, Bridget. Go on,
Kevin Hoffman's recommending WordMove. It's on GitHub, so people that know how to use that can get it.
Oh. I've heard of it. Oh, the one that my memory's come back, obviously, is WP Migrate DB Pro.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's got me out of trouble when definitely. Some of the other... and, like what Russell said, I've had the same thing with GoDaddy, and it's not the size of the website. I've had a few websites with them.
The timeouts.
And no backup, nothing I've put on will work. I don't know what they're up to, but it's only happened a couple times. but literally every my normal backup solutions, it won't back up nothing.
Because the problem is sometimes it's not sometimes the volume. It's actually because especially when you're doing like with WP Migrate DB Pro, they've actually worked with web hosts and they've worked with clients. They've worked with this, and they've actually found the reason why sometimes backup solutions don't work, because it's the web server, meaning it's the actual software that's serving the website. It actually counts the number of connections, it counts the number of hits, and then at a certain threshold, it's gonna drop you. It's gonna stop the backup. So it's actually a security feature to a certain degree, and it's to prevent basically a lot of one person, if you will, hitting the site continuously. So this backup plugin that you're trying to use is considered one person, and it's basically trying to take down the site, but it's not really trying to take down the site. It's just doing a backup. So
So what you can do, depending on who your web host is and how nice they are and all of that, is say, hey, here's the path to the file that I'm going to be using to do this backup. Like, here's this, particular folder where my plugin resides. Anything that happens here, if you don't mind, could you just allow it to run? The only thing is that if it runs longer than if it runs longer than the next instance of it, you'll end up with like 5 of them running at the same time. So let's say it gets stuck. Then you end up with some weird race condition. You're like, wait, why do I have 9 of these things running all in parallel and they're all backing up at the same time?
Wow.
But they all started at different times. Yeah. It gets tricky. There's reasons why web hosts do what they do, because they're essentially running apartment buildings, and they only have like so big of a gap, between these 2 poles that these cars have to drive through, and all this stuff starts getting filled up, and you're like, what am I going to do here? I guess I got to start, killing off people. So it just starts turning off all of these different things, saying, nope, sorry, you're not going to allow this car to go through. You're not going to have this thing go through. Nope. And it just starts, kind of stops all the stuff as it's going through there.
So this is why people pay WP Sidecare and places like that to deal with this whole backup situation.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and especially if they provide SSH access, shell access, it's easy for them because they just go, oh, no problem. I'll log in. I'll run my little scripts that I need. Yeah. I back up your stuff. I grab the files. I put them onto my server. I'm done. They're kind of doing it, the way, the way Jonathan was talking about earlier here. It's like, I use my own scripts to back up my stuff. Yeah. Awesome.
Basically. And
that's kind of how some of these are even doing it. They found out a good way that works with almost all of the web hosts. And, they've kind of said it where, hey, will the site allow me? And you'll see this in a couple of them. Backup Buddy will do it. They'll run a test at the very beginning. They'll just say, what's my environment like? And they actually run this test quite often, because what ends up happening is your site will move from one physical server to another physical server. They do an upgrade or something like that. Yeah. They have to rerun that thing going, my environment changed. Can I still do this?
Wow.
And they got to check if PHP has a certain module installed, and can Apache still do this and that? And is there going to be a timeout? Is there going to be all this stuff? So like the magic that's happening needs to just work and work well, because you paid for the software and you're hoping that your stuff gets backed up. Yeah.
And it sounds to me like it's
some complicated crap.
Because not every host is going to do the same thing.
No, definitely not.
None. Yeah, they're all different. Yeah. Some of them are using cPanel, some of them are using, some off-the-shelf setup, and some of them are fully custom-built, configs that they want to run a certain way, and that's it.
Is this
WP? Like WP Engine, for instance, like they don't even want you to do backups. Don't do backups of your own. Don't do your own backups. Like we do backups for you, and we do it really well. And we're using Git to do it, and we have it so you can just restore instantly. You pick the time and day, you restore it, and you're good to go. So Yeah. You got to listen to what the web host is saying and what the preferred way to do it is. And if you're having problems, ask your web host. Say, hey, web host, I don't know if you guys do backups. And if you don't, that's fine. But what's the one I can do that isn't going to get killed, every time you run this process?
Mm-hmm. Oh, do they recommend services?
Definitely.
They should be able to.
Yep.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't give a crap. I just
well, if you go to
my role is to ask the questions of the end user. I feel like everybody's going to have an intervention. Bridget, let's set you up. It's just for the show.
Yeah.
But I am.
If you're using 12centhosting.com or something, and the guy there's one guy, and he's running the whole show out of his garage.
Oh my gosh, out of his garage.
Well, it's 12centhosting.com. It needs to work.
We charge you we charge you every decade because it's just they take too many fees out. The payment gateway takes too many fees out. You pay for 10 years at a time.
So when that type of thing happens, they want to make sure that their customer's happy because they don't want to lose, their customer. And you could even tell them that. Say, look, you're not providing me with a backup. So what is the correct way for me to back up? And it's not going to be me downloading via FTP to my computer every day. That's not happening.
No, that would be ridiculous. Nobody has time for that.
It's a great exercise for you to do, Bridget.
Just for my own self.
To see how it works. Yeah. But man, I wouldn't do that every day.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nope. Even if you automated it, still making a zip file on the server and then downloading it, much easier.
Yeah.
Because my actual workflow for some sites that I run is I send all my files. So my servers are in New York. Therefore, I send my files through my script with my scripts. I send them all to San Francisco. So essentially, if for argument's sake, and God forbid,
for weather reasons?
For weather reasons, or there was 10 years ago, there was an entire power failure in all of Toronto. So the entire city went down. So no, if anything happens, God forbid anything, from the East Coast, I send my files to the West Coast. And then after that, I actually pull a copy of the files from the servers in San Francisco. I pull it down to a computer that I have running under my desk. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, again.
2 time zones and local.
2 time zones and local. So I've got the original files. I've got the files in another geographical area. And then I've got the files in my house.
That's actually smart because I had a friend in the East Coast during Sandy.
Oh, there you
go.
Yeah,
she was building websites, and that was a huge problem. She had to use a generator, and they had no power.
Yeah. Yeah, no, guaranteed. We definitely, if you're running any type of e-commerce business, you have to, unfortunately these days, you have to think of disaster. And especially if you're on a shared host or managing your own virtual private server, you have to think, okay, what happens if a disaster happens? What am I going to do? Where's my files? Can I get to my files? Right.
So you got earthquakes and hurricanes covered.
Yeah. So I've got earthquakes.
You got Trump covered.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I couldn't resist it. And actually, Jonathan, I can tell you're a total professional, because when I made that comment about San Francisco, I was being totally flippant about the weather, but you took it in your total professional stride, didn't you, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well, somebody has to be serious on this show.
That's me.
I'm too.
No, but Sandy was a big, big problem for her because she builds websites, and her clients couldn't get a hold of her, and
wasn't it back in 2012? I'm looking at I'm trying to remember. It was Internet and Pier 1 or something like that. In New York, their basement flooded, and when the basement flooded, it took out all of the electrical in the building, and then it took out all of the backups that were running in the building, like all the backup electrical stuff in the in the bottom of the building. It was like on like 8th Street or something like, or 8th Avenue or something like that. But yeah, like that type of thing happens, and people are like, why isn't my Netflix working? We're like, well, when your Netflix isn't working and your website's not working and Xbox for some reason won't connect, the stuff hit the fan, and we got to figure out what's going on here. So yeah,
because
it'd be the end of civilization, would it, Tucker? Would it?
If Xbox not working, we're really in trouble.
Exactly.
No, at that time of Sandy, we had a client who built electric cars that competed with Tesla. And they had gotten grants and all this other stuff, and they stored a bunch of their vehicles, their electric-only vehicles, you know, in Delaware or wherever they were. And so when Sandy came, all that salt water, electric vehicles, shorted them all out. The entire stock.
Jeez.
Like that alone made me never ever want an electric only vehicle. Like if there's no internal combustion, I'll take a hybrid. Yeah. Like I'm willing to compromise, but you know, because that's reality. Like you can't live near the ocean and have problems with salt water and drive an electric car.
Yeah, totally.
Like the whole thing shorted out. Are you kidding me? So of course, and that's where you keep your backup generators in the same place it's going to flood.
Yeah. Well, just like in downtown LA, you have the One Wilshire building. It's like, you know, world-renowned building that when that building ever loses power and loses a network connection, it is the building that connects us to Asia. Like that building has the Meet Me room in it, that it's like May West and all these other buildings that are out there and stuff. Like when those things go down, like the stuff hits a fan and you're not getting any of your data from one place to another. It's just not happening.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like I never would have thought of it, Jonathan Perlman, but once you said it out loud, it makes so much sense. And I would never have anything in Texas. Like, because that whole state is like some disaster after another.
Tornadoes.
Oh, you just don't like Texas, then, do you?
No, I do. I'm just saying, like, if you look at a climate map, you got to make good decisions.
Well, Texas has its like big building, its major connection, which is the Texas NAP building in Austin. That's the one that connects all of the rest of the internet together. So
this is what Texas has going for them, though. They are their own power grid. There are 3 power grids in the United States: Eastern, Western, and Texas. So if East and West go, Texas could be a valid third option. I would just say stay away from the coast.
Yeah. What I love is we're talking about like these huge crazy things, and we're really worried about our $12 web hosting plan with our a little bit of data that we have stored on there with a bunch of PHP files and some MySQL database. Like, you know what I mean?
4 hours to write that blog post. What are you talking about? That's 4 hours of my time.
Well, as long as Jonathan has it on TV, we're okay,
right? Just get it right, Uncle Jay.
He just has to go and dig around to try to find the drive for it, you know? We have the one drive at our shop. There's one DVD drive at our shop, and people come over to my office and say, "Can I get the DVD drive?"
Oh my gosh.
No, but funny. I'm afraid when you've had your backside bitten, you become a bit anal about it.
No, we did that with real life, like with our accounting system. We had terabyte drives, and one was always off-site.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like I get the need for a backup.
Yep.
And we've had to restore from backups in previous lives that I've had.
Yep.
It's just the WordPress is something I've never experienced yet. And I say yet because obviously it's an eventuality. So when Jason was saying, what should we talk about? What about backups? I'm like, it's so important. We never talk about it because it's not very exciting. But when you think about it California, our major things are earthquakes and fires. Yeah. So you have to have off-site because fire season, they call it fire season for a reason, you know. We don't have tornadoes, but we have Santa Ana winds and we have arsonists. That's a bad combination.
Well, I hate to say, Look at Alberta. Look at Alberta.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's not even on the east or west coast. That's almost like, I wouldn't say the middle. It's in the Rockies.
It's in the Rockies.
And you got an entire city that practically had to uproot and move. Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
This is why we have backups. Yes. We have backups. Same reason why we have insurance.
Exactly. We hope you never use it.
Well, but to be serious, I think some of the free plugin solutions that work really well. The only problem, doesn't apply to all of them, but a lot of them that they back up to the actual server that you got the site hosted, and that's never a good idea. You know, you should always have it off the server if you're going to do a backup. So I would say anybody that doesn't know too much about this, I would say that would be the number key one to consider, is choose something that can do a backup
to a separate location.
Yeah, that's like taking your photo album, right? And then you go to the store and you have them make copies of it. So you have 2 different photo albums now. Then you take it and you put it right there on the table, and then you take the other one and you put it right on top of it on the table, and you go, I got 2 copies, I'm good. And then the house burns down, and then you go, I have no copies because
even I know use Dropbox. Even I know that, because the pictures. See, I learned from pictures.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying it in pictures. It's like
that's so perfect. That's what people think of. With a house fire, they think passports, birth certificates, pictures.
Yep. So, folks, it is 9:00. It is time for us to go. If you wanted to hear this kind of in a very short format version of this, I'm about to work the long tail a little bit here. So back in episode number 47 of WP Watercooler, we talked about this back in August 13th, August 12th, 2013. So if you want to hear what Say Reed said for about 7 minutes and then all the rest of the stuff that we all talked about, feel free to go over there and check that out over on WPwatercooler.com. I'll have the links in the show notes, and I'll have the links to all this stuff in the show notes, and I'll make sure that Jonathan Denwood does get all of the affiliate links on all of the things. So, folks, thank you very much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Affiliate link I'll put on that chat. That's terrible.
I know. I'm just messing with you. Folks, you have a good rest of your night. Talk to you later. See you next week. Bye.